Hall of Science. We have heard you on the air. That big antenna is doing just great. It looks wonderful. And thank you so much for changing your schedule and coming tonight rather than your normal night. Thanks to Steve for picking me up. You should see the dashboard of his car. Pretty miraculous. And those that have been watching us on APRS. I am delighted to be here from Southern California. Although I'm leaving tomorrow, I'm going to leave you with some nice cool air. And it could be colder this Sunday when we watch the game. That will be very fun. I always like to start off by knowing who is here, and I know we've got a podcast going on, so hi to everyone out there in computer land. But on the count of three, I'd like to hear your call signs. This way you can be on the podcast as well. So as if you were trying to punch through a 20-meter pileup, and you've got people edging you out for that 360th country that you need badly. Let's hear your call signs. 1, 2, 3.
W2IRT.
Oh, now that's called a tail ender, W2IRT. He waits till everybody goes first and then he jumps in afterwards. Good job. Good job.
That's why he's got TS.
That's right. I have just returned from the Consumer Electronics Show, and I carried with me a AOR spectrum analyzer and a notepad to tell you what we have to look forward to when it comes to either more noise coming out of new modern computer stuff or new TVs or less noise. And I've got some notes, and I'll share you the good news, the bad news, and the intermediate news. We'll start off with intermediate news. How many have solar cells charging up whatever you're charging with solar cells? There has been no change in price, no change in the amount of current output, but everybody's looking to solar as that green type of renewable energy, but prices are about the same. For every $100, you'll get 1 amp of current at 12 volts. So we saw a lot of solar at the CES show in Las Vegas this past weekend. No change. Too bad. Good news. Good news. How many have ever been affected by television interference? TBI? Yeah. The good news is, a year from now, all the TVs are going to be going digital and will either be tied into the cable or satellite or to, and you get a $40 rebate, the new digital box. How many still have a pair of antennas up on the roof? Yeah. We enjoy that because that's how we tell for tropospheric ducting and sporadic E on 2 meters, right? Excuse me, on 6 meters and maybe 2 meters by watching channel 2 or channel 3. Well, those days are only here for about another 365 because television goes all digital in another year from now. So the good news is TBI, they won't know who it is. How many have had TBI problems again? Yeah, we know what it is. You put up that new 160-meter antenna to run all the way around the block on your neighbor's fences. You're on 160 meters for the first time. You got the kilowatt 922 turned on. You place your first CQ, and this is what you hear outside your house. Hey, knock it off. Open up the front door and confront that neighbor and say, are you getting the same interference? And then blame it on Steve. He hasn't been on the air yet for the next couple of hours. There you go. The bad news. The FCC has no sense of humor. The New Mexico Radio Club in Roswell applied for November Mike 5 UFO. Makes sense. Special vanity call sign. They said no, although it could be a legitimate call sign. November Mike for New Mexico 5 UFO was too early in the sequence to allocate it, and they said that without a smile. Yeah, what's the matter with them? I thought that would have been a good one. Good news for those of us that wear earphones a lot. Earbuds are coming out, noise canceling as well, and while they don't quite have ham radio DSP in them, we're going to see a lot of neat earphone capabilities for ham radio operators to plug them into our ears. Largest television at the CES show. Imagine causing TBI on a television measured diagonally 150 inches. Just think, when you cause TBI, you'll be able to see it like, oh my gosh, that's quite a picture. Anyway, the big TVs are coming out. And a new word. There's a new word we need to learn. The word is judder. Judder. That is on the new LCDs. When they pan and you see things go like that, they now have a new technology that gets rid of the judder. So I hope none of you are plagued with judder. Good news to keep us out of television sets. All of the cable manufacturers of interconnecting cables are going to double and triple coaxial type of grade on the cables. So we're going to see a lot less interference thanks to the cable industry really stepping forward. And there's something new for those of you that ever tried to attach a spaded terminal to a large hunk of wire, and you tried to solder it in a blowtorch, then you tried to crimp it, and then you just had to start all over again. Now they have one where you bare the copper, slides over, and 2 screws allow you to screw into that, and that's what they're using in the audio field, and they're pulling 50, 75 amps. Hey, that'll work well, so there you go. 3-dimensional television, 3D TV. Is that great? No, it was not. The 3D TV, again, red and green glasses, not quite. They had actually ones that were synchronized with left and right picture. 3D TV has not hit yet. But here's something that was a hit. Came from a CB company called Cobra. Anybody ever have a CB Cobra radio? Yeah. We now have it a little bit in ham radio, and it's called their digital voice recorder. It's now on a single chip, and we're going to see probably more of that in the ham radio industry, and that is DVR, where you press a button and you can make out that CQ call that came to you and you missed it the first time. Without having to ask for a repeat, just press that and it'll come through in your other earbud, and that's the digital voice recorder. Well, ham radio certainly had a big year throughout the country in handling emergency communications, and I know you had your share of everything back here for this last year where ham radio came through. As you know, Southern California went through some firestorms. 500,000 acres burned, and 500,000 clients were displaced, and there were ham radio excitements within what you were seeing on television at the firestorm. And one was with a group that I work with, and we were deployed to a small island 26 miles across from Southern California called Catalina Island. Not only did we have a firestorm, but the ham radio operators who were asked to work with the fire and the police and the medics were confronted with a horrible accident. Now I want you to know what you hear on the tape turns out better than at first accounted for. They indicated that there was 1 fatality and many that were critical. It turned out to be that the fatality really wasn't a fatality. That was a missed message that did not come through ham radio but another source, and that everybody lived. But here was that operator driving down the road, working with the fire department, relaying messages, and listen to her first call indicating that something major had happened.
Oh my gosh, there's a school bus with kids on it, and it's 50 yards south of Falls Canyon on Avalon Canyon Drive.
So, a school bus on its side. This came from a young lady, ham radio operator. She'd only been a ham for about 6 months, and she was helping with the fire communications, and they came across this school bus on its side.